This story starts off with a bully named Logan, who can be seen harassing a short and fat kid. He kicks the kid in the head, and his face smashes against the wall. Later in the day, Logan, the bully, uses a gum pistol on the weak kid. The bully tells the kid to do something funny, and he turns into Pikachu, which amuses the bully. This is the daily life of Daniel Park. After school, Daniel, the fat kid, is about to eat the supper his mom made for him, but sees there are eggs in his ramen. He yells at her, saying that she knows he doesn't like eggs in his ramen, but he doesn't tell his mom that the ramen actually tastes good. He asks her if he can transfer schools because he lies, and says it is because everyone has good grades unlike him. Daniel's mom says that she cannot transfer him because they are too poor. This causes him to lash out and storm out of the room. He is later seen crying in bed, regretting how he treated his mom. The next day, Daniel is dreading going to school. He wished to himself that one day he would be strong and could beat the bully, Logan. Daniel's mom is seen in the school office trying to get him a transfer to another school. However, his grades are too low, and it would be too expensive. Logan is once again bullying Daniel. He kicks a soccer ball at his head and misses. This is when someone who has a suspiciously close resemblance to Messi kicks the ball with a long windup and caves Daniel's face in. Logan is still mad that Daniel was able to dodge his kick, so he started smacking him in the face, and this is when Daniel's mother rushes in. She screams at Logan and goes to check up on Daniel. The bullies are getting very angry, and some of the female classmates start to gossip about him. Daniel's mom then unleashes an attack on Logan. Daniel looks over at the gossiping girls and starts to blush. Daniel's mom then starts questioning Logan, asking him why he is bullying her son, and that he must go to the homeroom teacher immediately. Daniel once again lashes out at his mom. He says that she is embarrassing her. His mom is now being crowded and apologizes to Logan. Daniel tells her to leave. He knows he is treating his mom badly, calling himself the world's biggest piece of trash on the walk home. Walking in, he sees his mom is home, and their bills are piling up. He tries to sneak inside, but is caught by his mom, and she says that they need to talk. While Daniel is wondering what his mom is going to say, she tells him that he can transfer schools now. She says that she hasn't been taking enough care of him. She changed her decision from earlier because she realized that Daniel's friends were bullies. Daniel is startled after finding out that she realized they aren't his friends. His mom said to trust her and go, and that she will take care of the expenses. After hearing those words, Daniel broke down in tears. Later, he can be seen sitting on a bus, munching on an egg, and getting ready to have a fresh start. He arrives at his street, and his house is revealed to be an old shack. But Daniel Park could not be any happier. He is excited for his new life with no bullies. He goes to a barber shop, and since he is ugly, the barber takes him to the corner of the shop. But Daniel is happy. The haircut is revealed, and while walking in the public, everyone is shooting him dirty looks. He gets embarrassed from all the new attention and sees himself in a mirror. Daniel thinks he has gotten a little tougher. He starts throwing jabs in front of his reflection when he catches someone staring at him, and he gets extremely nervous. Her boyfriend walks up to them and confronts Daniel. The boyfriend wants to pick a fight with Daniel, but his girlfriend calms him down. He calls Daniel lucky and that he won't forget his face. His girlfriend apologizes. After that interaction, he misinterprets the girlfriend's apologetic gesture and thought that she was winking at him and that she was interested in him. He catches up to them and picks a fight on the boyfriend. In a second, the boyfriend lunges forward and gets Daniel right in the jaw. People crowded around the fight, and Daniel is humiliated in front of the public. After going home, he finds out that a video was posted of the fight, and it had gone viral. Feeling sorry for himself, he tries to cry himself to sleep. After waking up the next morning, he goes to the bathroom and feels taller and a lot lighter. After looking up and seeing his reflection in the mirror, he realizes that something is terribly wrong. The person in the reflection is not the Daniel Park that he knows. There's no short pig-faced boy in the mirror, but rather a well-developed and mature-looking body with toned muscles. He thinks it is a dream and stumbles back only to find out that his other body was still sleeping. Hiding in the bathroom, he is still in disbelief of his strange new body, filled with toned muscles. He was sure it was not a dream. Daniel searches the internet to try and find any information, but he could not find anything. He thought about calling his mom or calling 911, but he concluded that they would try experiment on him and use him as a lab rat. Daniel tried waking himself up. He kept shaking his body, but it would not wake up, so he resorted to slapping his body. After the slap, he woke up in his normal body. He thought it was a dream after all, so he got up to go to the bathroom. But in the process, he saw the other body he was just in. Curious, he tried waking the other body up, and the exact same time he went unconscious in his original body. He woke up in his new body. He told himself that he can't tell anyone about his new secret. The rules of the body swap are that when one body is awake, the other body must be asleep. You must fall asleep to change bodies. Daniel stayed in his house for the next few days trying to learn more about the body swap. He found out that his hunger and thirst, among other things, transfer from one body to the other. So if Daniel's original body is hungry and thirsty and he sleeps, waking up in the new body, he would still be hungry and thirsty. He agreed to himself that he needs a good sleep schedule, so he will switch bodies every 12 hours. And since when one body was asleep, the other was awake, it was impossible to be unconscious since it would just transfer from one body to the other. A few days later, it's time for Daniel to start school, but he is very anxious. He arrives at school and girls immediately start blushing. Daniel thinks to himself that the world looks so tiny from the perspective of his newfound body that the girls called a 10 out of 10. While he is walking into school, the only thought on his mind is that he hopes to not be bullied. 3 students are seen in a classroom complaining about it being too hot. One of them commands a nerd to start fanning faster. The nerd starts fanning faster with a book and thinks to himself that he is being humiliated and that he doesn't want to live anymore. A girl turns around complaining about it being too cold, but she is told to shut up. But when an attractive classmate says it's cold, one of the bullies tells the nerd to stop. The teacher arrives and introduces a new student. The transfer student walks in and everyone's jaw drops. The new student is revealed to be Daniel Park. Daniel gets nervous because everyone is looking at him. As he goes to sit down, all the girls are in awe. However, the guys are all threatened by him. But there was one person who didn't have any reaction to him at all. He greets the person sitting next to him only to find out it was the boyfriend who beat him up in front of a crowd. However, he does not realize the person sitting next to him and the person he beat up are the same person. Understandably so. A girl named Zoe introduces herself after class. Daniel didn't know how to react because he had never been flirted with before. The boyfriend, whose name is revealed to be Zach, disrupts the conversation, saying Zoe's flirting was annoying him. He glances over at his girlfriend, whose name is Mira. She is staring at Daniel. This makes Zach angry. The bell rings and they all go to lunch. Everyone in the cafeteria is seen staring at the new transfer student. But once again, Daniel is oblivious of his good looks, and he is just happy he does not have to serve anyone else food, which is what he had to do to his bullies in the old school. The 3 students from earlier tell Daniel that they want to talk to him after lunch. After arriving, Daniel thinks they are going to beat him up, but instead they offer him a cigarette and ask questions about his life. This shocks him, as he was always used to people bullying him and talking down to him. Back in class, Daniel falls asleep as he spent too long worrying about school all night long. He wakes up in his original body. He curls himself up in a blanket and immediately tries to sleep again. He wakes up at school, and Zoe, who is trying to get him to wake up, is startled by his sudden jerk. Later, at night, Daniel is shown at a convenience store. He explains that he got the job on the way back from school. He walked in the store, but in his new body, and he is hired instantly. The store owner thought that an attractive employee would attract new customers. After he got the job, he told the owner that he is asking about the job for a friend of his. In the next slide, we can see the store owner angry, as he was expecting Daniel's friend to be good-looking too. So, Daniel officially got the job, but because he was not attractive, his wage was cut down. This will be how Daniel uses his new ability to switch bodies. Attractive Daniel by day and ugly Daniel by night. Customers walk into the store and Daniel realizes that 2 of them are his classmates. One of them asks for 4 packs of cigarettes. Daniel asks for his ID, but when he looks at it, the ID says he was born in 1984. The picture does not look like him at all, so he refuses to give them the cigarettes. He threatens Daniel, saying that he just gained weight. Just then the door swings open, and Zach is shown leaning on the door. He tells them to stop messing around and that they can just go to another store. He thinks to himself that the worker looks familiar, and he realizes Daniel is the person who tried to pick a fight with him in front of Mira. Daniel's heart starts to beat. Zach smirks and tells Daniel he wants to buy booze. He said that he will forgive Daniel if he buys them the booze. He tries to threaten Daniel with an intimidating glare. However, his friends in the background start talking, and they think Zach is buying booze for his girlfriend to impress her, because she has been staring at the new transfer student a lot lately. This infuriates Zach, and he loses his temper and unleashes it all on Daniel's face. After a beatdown, he is shown with his pants down and one of his classmates taking a picture of him. He tells him that he will post the picture if Daniel tells the police that he was beaten up. Daniel is squatting near some trash and thinks to himself that he can't rely on his mom anymore. He calls his mom and she asks him what he is doing being up so late, and he tells her that he is just taking a night stroll. His mom says that she is on a night stroll too. She asks about school, and Daniel tells her he is popular. This makes his mom happy, and we zoom out to see that she isn't on a walk, but working hard to afford Daniel's new school. Daniel hangs up the phone, telling his mom he loves her. The next day, he wakes up in his new body. He feels powerful and light. At school, girls are once again talking about his looks. He walks into class and overhears his classmates talking about beating someone up and taking a picture of them, nude. Zach is proud of himself as he thinks it will impress Mira. This puts Daniel in a foul mood, and he clenches his fist. Zoe wants to see the picture, but since Daniel just joined the conversation, she doesn't want to leave a bad impression. A few of the classmates start praising Zach because of his boxing abilities. He loves the praise, but tries to play it off cool, telling them that he is not proud of his skills at all. He looks over at Mira, expecting her to be impressed and Daniel to be scared. But instead, Mira is irritated that Zach got into another fight. She tells her friend that he is always fighting and getting into trouble. She tells her about a time Zach invited her to a movie and got into a fight with a defenseless kid. Her friend tells her that she is not really surprised he is so strong because he was a rising boxer in middle school. Zach starts boasting about his boxing knowledge and says that he should have thrown a jab and not a straight punch on the convenience store worker, which impresses everyone. Daniel starts asking himself why he must sit next to Zach, and two girls come up and ask him if he has a girlfriend. Zoe instantly moves in and talks over the two girls, asking Daniel if he would like to hang out with her sometime. While this is happening, we are shown the mysterious student who has not spoken a word yet, listening to their conversation. One of his classmates then mentioned that if the worker from the convenience store is a pig, his mom is too. He says he will strip both of them naked, and says that if he was the pig's mother, he would have given up on him. Daniel gets their attention and tells them with a serious face that they have gone too far. Everyone in the class instantly goes silent. Mira is impressed by Daniel's authority, and this pisses Zach off. He kicks a table and tries to pick a fight with Daniel, calling him a worm. They take the fight outside, and people from other classes go to watch the fight between the boxer and the pretty face. Zach tells Daniel to come at him, but he stands still. Everyone thinks the transfer student is weak and that they all got scared for nothing, as a pretty boy who knows how to fight is a problem for the guys. Just as Zach is about to punch Daniel, the mysterious classmate grabs Zach's arm, and because of the mysterious student's grip, Zach can't even move his hand. He looks over at Mira, who is watching him, and shakes him off. He goes for Daniel's face. As Daniel sees Zach's fist flying towards him, we get a flashback to Daniel at his old school. He got beat up so often he could read a fist's movement, but in his original body he did not have the physical abilities to dodge them. But now in his new body, he could easily dodge the fists coming at him. Everyone is surprised by Daniel's dodge against lightning fist Zach Lee. But the most shocked person is Daniel himself, realizing his body can now move as he desired. We are in the mind of Zach, and he is thinking back to when he was the fastest kid in kindergarten. In elementary school, he used to bully others, and that progressed into a boxing career in middle school where he wins his fight and is taken to the finals. And in high school, he continued to assert his dominance to those weaker than him. He called life so easy because he knew how to fight. We are brought back to the present, and Daniel is dodging all of Zach's attacks. One after another, his body moves right to left, not letting a single attack connect. Zach realizes Daniel has a lot of fighting experience. Mira is watching the fight, and Zach is tired of being humiliated, so he throws a right and then switches to a left. Daniel can't avoid the punch, but just in the nick of time, he stops his punch right in front of his face. Everyone is speechless, and Zach thinks that Daniel anticipated the feint punch. Zach calls Daniel a real fighter because of how cool and composed he is, but from Daniel's perspective, he is sweating profusely. He knows it's getting harder and harder to dodge, and he is not sure if he can stop the next attack. After looking into the crowd and seeing the look on the faces of the students who talked bad about his mom, He remembered all the bad things they said about her. The emotions exploded out of him, and he started dodging the punches a lot easier. He thinks about the time he got pistoled by Logan in his old school, and remembers him saying your first punch should always be to the solar plexus. After dodging a right hook, he moved in and caught Zach right in the middle of his chest, sweeping him completely off his feet. This punch left his underlings gobsmacked as well as everyone else watching the fight. Zach could not even stand up, and they all started cheering for Daniel. This was the first time Daniel was able to look down on an opponent. Zach sees Mira looking at him as he is helpless on the ground, and he swears to pluck the eyes out of everyone who smiled after he was defeated. After the fight was disbanded, we can see the mysterious student in a bathroom, and he overhears students plotting against Daniel. They agree to beat him up after school, and just before the scene changes, the mysterious student swings the stall door open. We are then introduced to the head of the 3 different school clubs: Vin Jin of the vocal and dance department, Li Jiang of the beauty department, and Vasco of the architecture department. A nerd walks into the bathroom as the mysterious student is walking out, and we can see the aftermath of a brutal and one-sided fight. This is when the mysterious student's name is revealed to be Jay. Daniel is now at home and is reminiscing about what happened earlier that day. He said it was his first time landing a blow on anyone, and his first time getting cheered on by other people. If he were in his original body, people would have just called him cruel, and that he looks like an ogre. He is now at his job. He thinks about losing weight, but tells himself that he doesn't have enough time because he is always busy. A man buys something and he starts to look at Daniel weirdly. Daniel says to himself that most people who come through the convenience store often give him weird looks. They all judge him by his first impressions. The beggar asks for change but then retracts his statement after looking at Daniel and says he can keep it. Even beggars feel pity for him. It's 3 a.m., and since there are not a lot of customers, Daniel starts to do some exercises. He lunges from the left and then to the right. He is able to do 1 push-up. Just then, a girl walks through the door and Daniel thinks to himself that she is gorgeous. He thinks she will judge him too and look at him like an insect. But instead, she compliments him. She apologizes if she startled him, and this kind gesture moves Daniel. She also buys him a drink saying that he must be tired. She bids him a good night and leaves. Zach's underlings are shown walking down a street with a woman. The 3 underlings think about the fight earlier that day and worry that the rumor of them all being beaten up by Jay in the bathroom stall will spread. The only person who saw it was the nerd whose name is Jiho. Although they have a naked picture of him, they decide to call him just for further insurance. He rushes out the door and sprints to them. He arrives and they tell him that he is late. One of the bullies says that because he took so long, his phone ran out of battery, so he wants Jiho to steal a charger. He begs them, saying that stealing is a crime, but they don't care. They say that if he commits a crime, then they have further insurance that he can't spread the rumor. He nervously walks in. Jiho thinks to himself that he has never shoplifted before. He is worried that the store worker won't be a pushover, but as soon as they lock eyes, they can tell that they are both in the same rank of the social hierarchy. He remembers what he came here for and starts sweating profusely. After he picks up the charger, he quickly tucks it under his shirt and darts for the door. Daniel tries to grab him but misses. Jiho cowardly tells him that he will pay next time, but as he's trying to run away, he trips on his own leg and falls down. Instead of being angry, Daniel tries to help him up, saying he will get in trouble if he leaves without paying. Jiho is thankful that he is a nice guy. Just then, the group of bullies walks in and tell Jiho that they are disappointed in him for not being able to even steal a single charger. Daniel gets nervous as they shift their gaze to him. They force the 2 to battle each other. They call it the contest of the week. The bullies tell Jiho and Daniel that if either of them tell on them, they will spread the nude pics of both of them. Someone is listening to music and overhears the commotion behind him. It is the leader of the architecture department, Vasco. Neither Daniel nor Jiho is fighting, so the bullies tell them that whoever wins gets to have their nude pic deleted. But the 2 still don't want to fight, so they tell Jiho that if he wins, he doesn't have to serve them anymore. He thinks about all the bad things they have done to him over the years and clenches his fist, readying himself for battle. Jiho lunges forward and starts slapping Daniel with all his might. The bullies are amused at the sight of this, but at that moment, a voice from behind tells them to stop the fighting. They turn around and they see Vasco walking towards them. The bullies are shocked, and the 2 losers are unsure of what to do. Vasco grabs one of the bullies by the neck and calls them bad guys. The bully is lifted off the ground. Vasco tells all of them to go home, leaving just the three of them. They thank him and he recognizes one of them from school. He asks which department Daniel is from. They say the fashion department, and Vasco asks if that's the same class as the new transfer who knocked down Zach. Daniel tells him that he's correct. Vasco tells Daniel to tell the transfer student to not screw around and get a big head. Daniel agrees while trembling because he is unsure of the reason Vasco is crying. At school, Jiho is seen getting food for his bullies. Daniel meets eyes with Jiho while in his new body, and he calls him to come sit with him. With a big smile, he exclaims that they are in the same class, so they should eat together. Jiho is surprised from this weird gesture. Zach and his gang walk into the cafeteria and see Jiho with the new transfer student. Zach thinks Daniel is just trying to make him look bad until he hears someone in the background talking about Daniel, saying he is the one who took down Zach. His head turns around in an instant, and it's the head of the vocal and dance department, Vin Jin. He asks Zach if he really lost to that pretty boy. Zach admits that he was taken down by Daniel, but he tells Vin Jin that although he lost to Daniel, he could take him down without a problem. This angers him and asks Zach if he wants to die. Zach throws a punch and stops right in front of Vin Jin's face, telling him to try him. Vin Jin thinks to himself that Zach really is fast and that if he really hit him, he would have thrown him away. Daniel hears someone talking behind him, so he turns around and sees the architecture department. Daniel wants to thank Vasco for saving him yesterday, so he shouts out hi to Vasco. Only after this does he realize that Vasco won't recognize him because he's in his new body and not his original one. Vasco's second-in-command thinks he is trying to start a fight with him. He thinks that Daniel is just dragging around Jiho to make himself look better, so Vasco walks up to him and calls him a bad guy. He asks Daniel if he has ever been taken down. Vasco puts his hand on his shoulder and squeezes hard. Everyone thinks that it's the end of the fight because no one has ever been able to survive the squeeze of death. Daniel withstands the squeeze and thinks to himself that it was wrong for him to be friendly with Vasco since he didn't know who he was in his new body. Vasco is struggling to keep the grip. He thinks to himself that no one has ever been able to last this long without going on their knees. Daniel grabs his hand and apologizes for startling him. Everyone's jaws drop except for Zach and Vasco, who are curiously surprised by his strength. Vin Jin and Zach start to think they might have a real monster in their school. It would be a disaster if word got out that Vasco lost to the new transfer student. It would be a disgrace to the Burn Knuckles, which is the name the architecture crew gave themselves. Vasco winds up for a punch, but a member of Burn Knuckles slides in to stop the fight. He apologizes for the misunderstanding, and his name is revealed to be Jace. Daniel is happy he didn't have to fight again. Jace thinks to himself that Daniel could be a real threat and that he needs to keep a close eye on him. Vasco speaks to Jiho and tells him that he needs to believe in himself. He must not surrender to people like Daniel. Bear in mind, Vasco still thinks Daniel is just using Jiho. From the other side of the room, Eli Yang is thinking about Daniel and how handsome and kind he is. He wonders if Daniel will let him cut his hair. We are shown the three bullies talking about a plan to get back at Vasco. They want to get close to Daniel because he stood up to Vasco at lunch, and they think he can help them fight. They approach Daniel and tell him that they are having a get-together and that he should join. Daniel immediately says yes, because at his old school he was always lonely since he had no friends. The three bullies are very happy with his response, and they agree to meet up together at 7. Daniel is happy he had a day off at the convenience store. We can see Zoe eavesdropping on the conversation. That night, Daniel asks them where the hangout is, and they tell him it is at the second floor of a restaurant. Daniel is happy to finally have friends to hang out with. He says to himself that his old chats used to be prison, as no one would try to have conversations with him. He goes into the alley and thinks to himself that the restaurant looks run down. He climbs the stairs and wonders if it will be one of those hidden gourmet places. He arrives at the door and takes a deep breath. He opens the door, and the first thing that hits him is the hazy, unpleasant smell of cigarettes. Zach is pissed off and asks why Daniel was invited. One of the bullies tells him to come and sit as he must be hungry. Zoe says that she was walking by and just happened to bump into them. What a weird coincidence. Zoe invites Daniel to come sit next to her. Daniel thinks that he has fallen into the wrong set of friends. He says to himself that he wishes his mom was there with him right now, and he feels as if he is trespassing on forbidden territory. They pour him some booze, and they are about to cheers, but Daniel exclaims that he doesn't actually drink. They all tell him he is lying and that he must drink the alcohol. After telling them multiple times that he won't drink, they give in. One of the bullies say he doesn't want to drink because he is a poor drinker, but Daniel keeps repeating that he just doesn't like to drink. Zach starts taking shots like there's no tomorrow. The bullies start talking to each other, and since everyone's drunk, half of the words they use are all swear words. Daniel wants to leave as soon as possible. One of Zach's henchmen asks him where he lives, and Daniel answers by saying that he lives on his own. This surprises everyone, since they are all high school kids still. They crowd Daniel with questions asking if they could stay with him, but he says there's only space for 2 people, and he lives with his friend. They ask if his friend goes to their school, but he says that he is a high school dropout. This impresses everyone, as he is a lot more rebellious than they all initially thought. Zach speeds up on his shots. Zoe tells Daniel his clothes are quite big, and asks if he likes to wear oversized clothes. Daniel explains that they are his friend's clothes and that their frame is quite big. Everyone assumes that his friend is 100% a gangster from his description. They all say in unison that Daniel is a lot more dangerous than they thought. Zach starts taking shots at super speed. The owner comes inside to collect some of the bottles, and she locks eyes with Daniel. She is instantly swept away. She wonders to herself who the pretty boy is. Her husband died 10 years ago, so she thinks this is a present from heaven to cure her loneliness. She makes a move on Daniel, asking if there's anything else he wants to eat. This ticks Zoe off, so she retaliates by getting nice and close to Daniel. The owner is annoyed that Zoe is being aggressive, so she acts as if her hair tie is coming loose to expose her chest. All of Zach's underlings start to have nosebleeds. Daniel is now stuck between 2 animals, a dragon and a tiger. Zach wishes that Mira was with him. The other group in the room realize that they are school kids and complains that they are making too much noise. Zach nearly passes out from all the alcohol. He gets Daniel's attention, and Daniel thinks that he is going to try and swing at him, but instead he starts talking about how he is jealous that Daniel is so handsome. He asks Daniel if they can be friends and that they can hug it out. He then proceeds to kiss him. This surprises Zoe, but not the other 3, as apparently this isn't the first time he has done this. She gives Daniel a cup of water, saying he must be tired. He starts gulping the water only to realize it's booze. He apologizes to his mom for underage drinking and committing a grave crime. The other group yells at them, telling them to keep the volume levels down. They say that kids have no manners anymore. They talk amongst themselves, wondering if they should teach the young ones a lesson. The women comment, saying that it is always the women with big chests that have the ugliest faces. Zoe breaks the shot glass she is holding and grits her teeth. Daniel tried to get Zoe to calm down, but she retaliates by asking the women if she is wearing a bra just to stay warm. Daniel gets more nervous for the battle that's about to occur. The room goes silent for a second and the woman erupts, daring her to say it again. Zoe plays dumb, and the woman tells Zoe to stop playing innocent. They start calling each other very bad names I can't say on YouTube, and we can see the reactions of everyone around the room. While this is happening, Daniel's eyesight begins to get blurry. His heart starts to race, and he says he feels strange. Daniel is now drunk. One of the men get up to teach the kids a lesson, and they all try to avert his gaze. He asks the kids how old they are, and they think to themselves that even if they fight, they have Zach, but he is flat out wasted and is apologizing to the grown-ups. They glance over at Daniel, and they can tell he is acting strange. They can all sense that he is clearly irritated for some reason. The bullies think to themselves that they might have a shot if Daniel is fighting as well. They answer that they are all 20 years old, and the grown-ups follow up by asking them for their IDs. They reject. The grown-up with the brown beanie goes for one of the bullies. He yanks his head back by pulling his hair. Just as he is about to smack him, Daniel shouts out to the grown-up. He gets their attention and asks them with a serious face what they are doing and are they trying to pick a fight. Daniel thinks to himself that it's weird he feels no fear in front of the adults. He points at the bullies and reprimands them for underage drinking, insulting mothers, and always looking for trouble. He asks them if it's fun hitting people and if they enjoy acting like fools. He tells one of the bullies, who he calls Pointy, to give him his phone. Mr. Beanie thinks that he's scared and wants to call his mom, but instead he smashes the phone with nothing but his bare hands. He tells them to never take dirty pictures of anyone ever again. Everyone in the room gets scared from his show of strength. Daniel thinks to himself that they need to apologize. So, he goes ahead and grabs a bottle of booze so that they all could raise a glass and forgive each other. But instead, he drops the bottle by mistake. When he tries to grab it, the bottom of the bottle hits the floor, so it looks like Daniel is now wielding a lethal weapon. Daniel says that he just wanted to pour them a drink, but his hands got slippery. Everyone assumes that he did it on purpose and just made it look like an accident. The bullies call him an evil genius. Daniel continues to apologize while holding the weapon, so everyone still thinks he intends to use it. Two of the adults get scared, but the woman starts pouting at the sight of her man acting so weak. So, he gets angry and starts shouting at Daniel, telling him that he ruled over a high school called Jian High. He asks them which school they go to. They tell them again that they are 20, but Zach lets the cat out the bag, telling them that they are first-year fashion students at J High. Mr. Beanie tells Mr. Necklace that J High is notorious for strong fighters, but they think it will be alright since they are just first years. Daniel tells himself that they have messed up big time and tries to apologize again, but while holding the bottle, the adults call him a maniac.